This is a lesson on writing algebraic equations. We've gone over solving them, but let's just review that an equation is a mathematical statement of equality between two expressions. And we've learned about expressions. And then number 2, an equation uses an equal sign to show that one side is equal to the other, and may use variables to represent unknown numbers. So if we look at the equation x plus 4 equals 7, it's an equation, and then you can determine the value of x. So how do we determine the value of x? Again, we have to get x alone. So I'm going to look to see what is directly with the x, and I see that what is directly with the x is a positive 4. Well, to get rid of a positive 4, a negative 4, so if I add these together, 4 minus 4, that's 0. So that gets rid of that. But whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other. So I'm going to subtract 4 over here on the right side of the equal sign, and I get 7 minus 4, which is 3. So by subtracting 4 from each side, you can see that x will equal 3. You can also just do this mentally if you wanted to. I always ask myself when I see a variable, what plus 4 equals 7? And I know that 3 plus 4 equals 7, so x has to be 3. Alright, let's look at some problems here. So, a boy has 19 race cars in his toy collection. After his birthday, he counts 50 race cars in his collection. So now he has a total of 50 race cars. Using this information, determine how many cars he received on his birthday. Write an equation, then solve, and use the letter r as a variable. So again, 50 is the total amount of cars. That's why this bar is expanding both parts of this equation. He had 19 cars to begin with, and he got a certain amount of cars on his birthday, but we don't know that amount yet. So what I'm going to do is 50 is total. I'm going to write 50 there because that's the total. I know he had 19 to start with, and we added more of whatever he got on his birthday. So to solve this, I'm going to rewrite it over here so I can show my work. 19 plus r equals 50. To solve this, I have to look what is directly with my variable, and a positive 19 is. So what gets rid of a positive 19? A negative 19, and whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other. So now you can see here 19 minus 19 gets me to 0, so I'm done. Those are gone. So what I have left is this r, and then I just subtract 50 minus 19. So I'm going to take a 10 from there, borrow it. 10 minus 9 is 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. So he got 31 cars on his birthday. Alright, number 2. A game download pack costs $40. It contains several different games. Each game costs $5 separately. How many games are in this download pack? And we need to write an equation that represents this problem. Use the letter g as the variable to represent the number of games. So again, what I'm going to do before I write it is just make a diagram. So the whole thing costs $40. Okay, so I'm going to make this my big bar here. And I know that each game is $5 separately. So I have to, each game is 5, and we don't know how many games he bought, but each game costs $5. So how do I do this? 5x equals 40. I guess I should have used g as my variable, but that's okay. Okay, so what is directly being done to the variable? The 5 is being multiplied it. So how do I get rid of a 5 times x? Well, a 5 divided by 5 gets me to 1. Whatever I do to that side, I have to do to this side. So again, 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 1x is just x. And then 40 divided by 5 is 8. So there are 8 games in this download pack. And if I go back and put that in, it should make sense. So if each game costs $5 separately, and I buy 8 of them, that's 5 plus 5 plus 5 8 times, which is 8 times 5, which is $40. So that makes sense. Alright, number 3. There's a sale on fine shirts at a local store selling 4 for $70. Determine how much each shirt costs by writing the equation. So we have $70 is our total, and we are buying 4 of them. So I have a shirt, a shirt, a shirt, a shirt. That's 4 shirts. So 4 shirts. I'm going to use S as my variable equals $70. Okay? So 4 shirts equals $70. I don't know how much one shirt is, so what I'm going to have to do is isolate this variable. So right now it's being multiplied by 4. So to get rid of multiplication, we'd use division. And 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 1s is just s. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So 70 divided by 4, I can do my work over here. I'm going to add a decimal, a trailing 0, and then 4 can go into 25 times. So each shirt costs $17.50. We can use variables to represent 2 quantities that change in relation to one another. An independent variable is an unknown that can be changed, and a dependent variable is a variable that is an unknown that is affected by the change in the independent variable. So a car dealership earns $300 profit for each car sold. Write an equation that represents the total profit made depending on how many cars are sold. So we have to go back. What is an independent variable? An independent variable is a variable that is unknown but can change. So we're looking for something in here that is unknown but can change. So what can change is the amount of cars being sold. So cars sold. And the dependent variable, let's go back. The dependent variable is unknown, but it's affected by the change in the independent variable. So the dependent variable is the profit. Use the table to find the total profit using variable P when C is 80. Okay, so explain the relationship between the 2 variables. So I can make, or how do I get from 1 to 300? Well, I can multiply by 300, right? So if I sell 20 cars, 20 times 300, well, 2 times 3 is 6, and I have 1, 2, 3 zeros. So 1, 2, 3 zeros. 8 times 3 is 24, and again, I have 3 zeros. Okay, so explain the relationship between the 2 variables. C times 300 equals P. Alright, and that is it for writing equations.